Pro-Life Jen, welcome back to the Kristan Hawkins Show. In today's episode, I'll be discussing numerous state battles that our Students for Life Action team has been working on over the last few weeks and months to save babies through laws and how you can specifically help. Don't worry, I'm going to be a little bossy and give you action items of the show. 2025 has been off to a fast start with a ton of pro-life bills on the move in this legislative season. But as you probably have heard me say before on the show, Republican leadership in a lot of places just can't be trusted. It's like we have 50 little swamps out there. We really do. And unless we act, unless we educate voters about their failure to advance legislation, unless we put pressure on these leaders, nothing is going to move forward. So I need your help. That's why I'm hosting this episode. So today I'm going to talk about the top 10 states that we've been working on and where we need to go and how you can plug in to take a stand for life. First up, South Carolina. So I'm going to give you a little backstory about South Carolina. In 2023, Students for Life Action worked with Representative John McCravey to introduce the Human Life Protection Act. Sometimes I'll slip up and call it the Life at Conception Act. It's the same thing. It's a bill that would end all abortions. No exceptions in a state. We passed it in Oklahoma before. We thought this bill was going to pass because it's South Carolina and everyone's supposed to be pro-life, right? Republican majorities. Yet, 3 female senators in the South Carolina Senate joined with Democrats to kill our bill in the spring of 2023. They were given like an award from the Kennedy Center in Boston. The New York Times did this whole glowing profile on the sister senators. Well, we pledged not to forget what they did with the babies. So this spring, Students for Life Action volunteers in South Carolina got busy, worked hard, started knocking on doors. All 3 of those state senators who were Republican lost their primaries. One lost by less than 35 votes. We know definitively Students for Life Action made a difference because we were the only group in America paying attention to a state Senate race with Republicans in South Carolina. These 3 senators were replaced with 100% pro-life champions who then won in the general election. So, this January, Representative John McCravey reintroduced this Human Life Protection Act. Should be a cakewalk, right? Wrong. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Wes Newman can't seem to find the time to advance Rep. McCravey's Human Life Protection Act, which, by the way, we think will save between 3,000 to 5,000 preborn babies every year. Because even though South Carolina has the Heartbeat Abortion Prevention Act, which bans abortions when a heartbeat can be detected, there's still a lot of abortions happening in South Carolina. This is a big deal. But Wes Newman doesn't apparently have the time. I don't know. Maybe he's planning for retirement and doesn't care about pro-life voters anymore. I don't know. I can tell you he's up to some tricks. Because this Republican who says he's pro-life, earlier in the session in January, appointed a left-wing pro-abortion Democrat activist to be the chair of his subcommittee. Now, as chairman of the Judiciary Committee, he can appoint his chairman of his subcommittees. Instead of appointing, I don't know, a fellow Republican or, call me crazy, pro-lifer, he appointed a pro-abortion Democrat who literally spoke at a Planned Parenthood rally with other Democratic women attacking South Carolina's heartbeat abortion prevention law. We got video of it. What was he thinking? I don't know. He's playing some games in Columbia. This is what politicians do. Whatever he's doing, we got to keep letting the Republican voter base, the majority of South Carolina, we got to have that base informed about what is happening, that he's now responsible for blocking a bill that could save 3,000 to 5,000 lives. And we need your help because this bill can still move. I've told he's very angry that some students showed up in his district and talked to his pastor and was knocking on his neighbors' doors about what shenanigans he was up to in Columbia. I have no idea how this could happen. We need your help. We need you to contact South Carolina legislators to tell them that the nation is watching, that this is a critical bill. This is a critical bill in a post-Roe era, and they need to step up. You can go to studentsforlifeaction.org/South Carolina and send South Carolina GOP leaders a message that they should not compromise on life and cave to the abortion lobby. Next up, Kentucky. In Kentucky, a Students for Life alum is now a representative, TJ Roberts. He and Steve Rawlings, another representative, sponsored and championed Students for Life Action's Anti-Chemical Abortion Pill Trafficking Act in the Bluegrass State. This is huge because passing of this bill would help stop the flow of illegal chemical abortion drugs into Kentucky. If you know anything, you know I'm against chemical abortion pills. I talk about it all the time, right? They not only kill babies, which that should be enough of a reason to oppose them, they also are harmful to women. They lead to injury, infertility, and death. They aid sex abusers who can use them to cover up their crimes. And we now know through Students for Life's Dimitri Institute for Pro-Life Advancement research, they're actually polluting our environment and drinking water with known anti-progesterone metabolites. So this law is a win for everybody. This law would simply say that abortionists cannot illegally mail chemical abortion drugs into Kentucky. And you might think, who would do that? Well, let me explain it to you. So after Roe was defeated, thrown into the ash heap of history with the Dobbs decision in June 2022, the Biden-Harris administration created an interagency task force on reproductive rights. And they figured out all these ways that they were going to make abortion federal. That's how the DOD started funding abortion travel, how the Department of Labor was trying to force employers to give women time off for abortion travel and all this crazy stuff. One of the outgrowths of this interagency task force was a memo that the Department of Justice issued publicly saying that they were not going to uphold a known federal law that had been the law of land for over 100 years. It's an 1890 law called the Comstock Act, which makes it a felony to send chemical abortion or any abortion materials via the mail. So what they did was they issued a memo and they said, we're not going to be enforcing this. And effectively invalidated all of the pro-life states who had acted with courage to end abortion after the fall of Roe, after the Dobbs decision, because abortionists in blue states like New York, Illinois, Colorado, California are allowed, because their governors say they have shield laws to protect them, to illegally mail abortion drugs into states that have moved to ban or prevent almost all or all abortions. This is how abortions are still happening in states that have moved to make abortion a thing in the past. This pill trafficking bill is massive. This law would not only save babies, not only going to help save mothers and protect the environment, it also is going to reshape the national landscape and tell states, stop sending, their abortion drugs into our states. Because as we know, our country is divided. We have half free to kill states and half free to be born states. And the free to kill states are shipping their murderous drugs into free to be born states. Unfortunately, Kentucky GOP leadership in Frankfort has failed to advance this bill. A few weekends ago, our Students for Life Action volunteers were out there in full force starting door knocking. And with big Republican majorities and support from various pro-life organizations, we should not be facing these hurdles in Kentucky to get this bill across the finish line. But as you know, as we especially know in Capitol Hill, sometimes Republicans are their own worst enemies. So go to studentsforlifeaction.org/KY and send the Kentucky GOP leadership a message to stop the flow of illegal abortion pills into the bluegrass state. Our next state is Montana. In Montana, our brand new, fresh off the press bill, the Clean Water for All Life Act, was introduced and had hearings in the state House and Senate in the past few weeks. In fact, our Montana field coordinator, Maddie Bowler, and our VP of Media and Public Policy Students for Life Action, Christy Hamrick, even testified. This bill is brand new, it's novel, it's extremely innovative. It says, while Montana allows for abortion in their constitution, we need to protect women, babies, and our environment from chemical abortion pills. Now, as we've talked about before, we don't have a national abortion reporting law in our country. There's at least 1 million abortions happening a year. From the abortion industry's own estimates, at least 60% of those abortions are chemical abortions. I believe it's probably around 75% right now. Taking at their word, that means 600,000 babies every single year are being aborted into toilet bowls. Chemically tainted blood, placental tissue, and these children are being flushed in toilets going downstream to wastewater treatment plants. That is water pollution because it totals more than 40 tons of chemically tainted medical waste. As I've also mentioned before, in chemical abortion, there's 2 drugs, and the first drug, mifepristone, is a drug that kills the baby. It starves the baby by blocking the pregnancy hormone progesterone. Mifepristone, though, doesn't go inactive after the woman takes it. When she is passing blood, placental tissue of the baby in the toilet bowl, the metabolites remain active after they pass through the woman's body. Some pharmaceutical drugs, this happens. There are 3 active metabolites that are known progesterone blockers. So this is really important for anyone who's trying to get pregnant, trying to stay pregnant, even men, because progesterone affects your brain health and your brain growth. These metabolites stay active, even as this medical waste is being transferred to the water treatment plants. And a lot of people think, well, that's fine, the water treatment plant will catch it. We have proven that is false, and it's actually in our drinking water. Students for Life, Dimitri Institute for Pro-Life Advancement has already proven this. I don't know about you, but unknowingly drinking your morning tap water and ingesting your neighbor's abortion via this deadly chemical abortion does not sound too great to me. We're drinking other people's abortions. You don't even have to be against abortion to think that maybe there's something wrong with that. This bill did not advance in either the Montana Senate or House, but we're going to keep pushing. This is kind of commonplace, sadly, when you introduce a novel pro-life law or any law like this. It takes a couple of sessions for legislators to fully understand and grasp what it is we're talking about. So we're going to be back in Montana. We're going to be back in a number of states of this. So I want you to stay tuned, because this Clean Water for All Life Act is important, because what it will do is it will tell an abortionist that, especially if they're violating the state law and illegally trafficking chemical abortion pills in the state, that they have to give a collection system to mothers to collect their child, chemically tainted blood and placental tissue, which, one, that's going to convince a lot of women not to have an abortion, because they're going to have to think about what it is they're doing. And then 2, it's going to make the abortion impossible, the abortionist to be impossible to be in like New York State or another state, because known medical waste laws say that the generator of medical waste, the abortionist, is responsible for collection. So that means the abortionist is going to be in state, then is going to have to devise a way to collect the medical waste and then pay for that medical waste to be incinerated or buried, which is going to cost a whole lot of money. So effectively uses environmental laws to protect our water, which is good, we all agree, but it also will shut down the leading cause of abortion in that state. Next state up, Oklahoma. So Oklahoma recently introduced our Stop Chemical Abortion Pill Trafficking Bill, HB 1168. It was sponsored by and brought up by Representative Denise Cross-White-Hader. It recently passed out of a House committee and is now headed to the House floor for a vote. Now, Denise helped pass this legislation last year. She sponsored it, went to the House floor, passed, yay. But it was killed in the state Senate. This is what happened. So Denise and other pro-life legislators saw this bill get passed. We sent it to the state Senate. We were waiting for it to get passed. And then something happened. The majority floor leader, Greg McCourtney, who's always said he's pro-life, advocated against the bill, said it was unnecessary, and got his fellow senators to vote against it. We didn't forget about what Greg McCourtney did, because this spring, Students for Life leaders door-knocked in various districts to educate voters in Oklahoma who are overwhelmingly pro-life about the shenanigans that were happening in Oklahoma City. These voters responded by throwing 3 incumbent Republican Oklahoma senators out of office, one of which was the majority floor leader, Greg McCourtney. That was kind of a big deal. Why? Because it's kind of hard usually to take out, or to see a member of the leadership at a state house or even U.S. Congress to lose their primary election. But that's what happened. And all 3 of those Republican senators were replaced with 100% pro-life senators. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, the Oklahoma State Senate learned their lesson that these young whippersnappers, pro-life students, aren't going to take no for an answer, and that they're ready to advance the bill as soon as it passes the Oklahoma House and gets to the Senate floor. But you can help us out, because you can go to studentsforlifeaction.org/Oklahoma and send a message immediately to the GOP leadership demanding that they take action and stop the illegal trafficking of chemical abortion pills into Oklahoma, which has banned abortion. This doesn't make sense. State number 5, Wyoming, one of my favorite states in the nation. Wyoming lawmakers have just obliterated Republican Governor Mark Gordon's cruel veto of a pro-woman, pro-life bill requiring common sense health and safety standard of an ultrasound before a chemical abortion. Why would a Republican governor do this crazy thing that's going to allow more abortions? Gordon trotted out the tired old rape argument, claiming that forcing a woman to have to undergo an ultrasound after she had been sexually assaulted before she killed her baby was too dramatic. He says this because majority of ultrasounds that occur in the first trimester are vaginal wand ultrasounds. But you don't have to have a vaginal wand ultrasound. You can use a standard ultrasound. You know, Governor Gordon, what's really traumatic? A chemical abortion that leaves a woman alone, bleeding for weeks and in pain, sometimes facing life-threatening complications from conditions like ectopic pregnancy, which, by the way, having an ultrasound, which the FDA used to require until the Biden administration didn't care about women anymore, having an ultrasound actually makes sure she's not experiencing a life-threatening ectopic pregnancy before she ingests these drugs, which can kill her. Also make sure she's actually pregnant and it's not the abortion industry just pocketing $500 off of her. But sure, let's pretend skipping an ultrasound is compassionate. We have known for years that the abortion industry hates ultrasounds because they know when mothers see the window to the womb, they can see the truth about their baby's development, hear their baby's heartbeat. And when that happens, they're much, much more likely to choose life, even if they were leaning pro-abortion. Even if they were leaning to going to have an abortion. This is why we've heard stories time and time again of women who, in states that require an ultrasound for abortionists, telling us and showing us pictures of the ultrasound for the abortion where we can see the abortionist didn't even really show her the picture of the baby because they didn't want her to see. That's how afraid they are of the truth, of that photo of the child. And it seems the Republican Governor Mark Gordon, who tries to say he's pro-life, who's really pro-abortion, once again, is taking a page out of the abortion lobbyist book. The good news is Wyoming lawmakers, because we were engaged in 20 different election battles this year in their primary, they just sent a clear message. It's loud and clear. Women deserve the truth and babies deserve a chance. And Governor Mark Gordon, I know you're eyeing up higher office. Just so you know, the pro-life generation will not forget your cruel veto of a common sense, pro-safety standard bill. Meanwhile, in Wyoming, our Clean Water for All Life Act I talked about in Montana, it failed to advance in the House. I had some testy text messages with the House Speaker. But don't worry, Mr. Speaker, we'll be back next year. And we're going to make sure we keep advocating for abortion-free drinking water in the Cowboy State and beyond. Next, wait till you hear this one. In Iowa, Speaker Pat Grassley, yes, he's related to Senator Grassley, just gave our critical pro-life Life at Conception Act a bill number of 666. Can you say demonic? So this is what happened. We've been trying for a couple of years to pass a bill that ends all abortions in Iowa. And in Iowa, the House Speaker has to assign a bill once a member has introduced it, a number. A bill cannot advance until it's assigned a number. Because it gets assigned a number, then it goes to a committee, then the committee can vote for it, then it can go to the floor. And all this stuff has very specific deadlines because a lot of state legislative sessions are very, very short, right? So you have to move very quickly through things. That is why bills like our Clean Water for All Life Act, which are complex and novel, we didn't see them pass in Wyoming and Montana because the legislators were like, I don't have time for this, and we're going to have to do a lot of education in the off season. Speaker Pat Grassley was no friend of life. He didn't assign our bill for weeks a bill number. But then he finally did, the 2 days before the deadline for the bill to pass out of committee, making it virtually impossible for the committee to meet and have a hearing and to vote for it. And when he did assign a number, he assigned it 666. I don't think this was a coincidence. I think it's clear he's punking pro-lifers by giving us this number. And I think we need to ensure pro-life voters in Iowa know that Speaker Pat Grassley is not standing with them or preborn babies. So, here's how you can help. Follow us on Instagram at Students for Life Action or on X at SFL Action and reshare our posts exposing Iowa Speaker Pat Grassley. And if any of you all are tuning in from Iowa, Be prepared for more door knocking and voter education efforts. And you can stay in the loop by signing up for our email list at studentsforlifeaction.org/get involved. We're going to need a lot of Iowa volunteers because we cannot let this stand, friends. No way. I think I'm going to Iowa myself in the fall for a little special field trip. Number 7, Idaho, my new state that I just moved to this year. Very disappointed. So in Idaho, our Stop Chemical Abortion Pill Trafficking Act and our Clean Water for All Life bills have both been held up by so-called pro-life committee chairs. Once again, what are these people afraid of? It's Idaho. It's not like you have a very loud, boisterous, well-funded pro-abortion army funding campaigns against you. How many times do we have to say this to Republican legislators? Stop running from the abortion bullies. So our bills, the Clean Water for All Life Act and the Stop Chemical Abortion Pill Trafficking Act, both of which attack chemical abortion to end the chemical abortion industry, which in Idaho, because Idaho has banned abortions, this is how the only types of abortions that are happening in Idaho are chemical abortions because the pills are illegally being shipped into the state. But instead of actually doing anything, the committee chairman won't allow the bills up to be introduced for a vote. And unfortunately, nobody's aware as it's happening because it's Idaho and everyone just assumes, oh, it's a Republican state. Oh, it's pro-life. Oh, it doesn't have abortions because of the law. It's okay. Here's the deal about politicians. They don't want to do anything. Politicians have one job, friends. It's to get re-elected. And they don't want to talk about abortion. Abortion's hard. Abortion, they think, loses elections. Doesn't in Idaho, but that's what they think. You can help us out, though. You can demand that Representative Brett Crane gives the Clean Water for All Life Act a print hearing. I don't know what it means. That's just the name in Idaho. A print hearing in Idaho by emailing your legislators and emailing all the legislators when you go to studentsforlifeaction.org/Idaho. This is the future of our Republican Party at the state legislative level. I know there's been concern this past year since President Trump has now said, I don't think abortion is federal, it's a state issue, which we disagree. It's completely federal. Your human rights don't begin and end state lines. And the challenge with that statement is that a lot of legislators take what the president says and then that is what they follow. So we saw a lot of federal legislators be like, oh, you know what? You're right, President Trump. I don't have to do anything on abortion anymore. Which is ironic because when Roe was in existence, they said, we can't do anything about abortion because Roe is in existence. We just have to get Roe gone and then we'll help you. And then Roe was gone and then they were like, oh, abortion's not a federal issue. True story. Like this is how it played out. State legislators, whether in the House or the Senate, these guys are the future governors. They're the future U.S. senators. They're the future U.S. House of Representatives members. It is so critical that the pro-life movement engages at these state house levels now to make it known that we aren't playing this game. Abortion is a federal, state, and a local issue. And that's what the Dobbs decision said, by the way, when the Supreme Court said, we return this issue back to the people and its representatives. We got representatives in Washington, D.C., and our state capital. All right, state number 8, West Virginia, my home state. This is where I grew up. In West Virginia, at the beginning of the session, the pro-life Republican leadership said that they weren't going to be taking up any bills on abortion this session. They had lots of other things to do. I think they just banned food dyes and maybe brought back capital punishment. I don't know. They're arguing about LASIK eye surgery. However, the pro-life generation responded by beating down the doors, telling members we have to pass our Stop Abortion Pill Trafficking legislation. In addition to our lobby day at the beginning of the session in Charleston, I just spent personally a day in the state capitol last week with Gunnar Bear, my 2 oldest sons, lobbying legislators directly and meeting with our champions, Delegate Chris Anders and Senator Patricia Rucker, who have introduced this bill in the House and the Senate. I also met with a good friend of mine, the new Attorney General, J.B. McCuskey, to ask JB's support for our efforts. Our students have gone door knocking. We've been sending text messages, phone calls, did a teletown hall, and now it looks like our hard work will pay off because this week in the House, we are going to have a hearing on this bill. Once this bill passes the House, it will go to the Senate, where Republicans control the Senate 32-2. It should pass. This should be our first state to pass the Chemical Abortion Pill Anti-Trafficking Act. So we're doing a lot, but I still need your help because we know leadership doesn't really want to do anything. Once again, what's politicians' number one job? So go to studentsforlifeaction.org/WV and join the fight. And by the way, if you ever want to testify or get involved by lobbying in these state houses, just email your state name at studentsforlife.org and we'll get you immediately plugged into our work. All right, number 9, Maine. You're not going to believe it. So Maine is a pretty purple state, and it's currently controlled narrowly by Democrats. I was actually surprised how many Republicans there were in Maine. This is why we've asked Representative Reagan Paul, it's like the most iconic Republican name ever, right? She should be running for higher office at one point, to sponsor our Clean Water for All Life Act. The bill is still awaiting its hearing and will have votes in both legislative chambers very soon. And so we're going to get to see very soon which sacred cow Democrats care about more, protecting the environment and clean water or killing babies. Will they stand with Maine citizens and pro-lifers to protect us from known endocrine-disrupting chemicals from aborted babies being flushed down our toilet? Seems like the common sense thing to do. Or will they stand with Planned Parenthood and the abortion lobby against women, babies, and the environment? The choice is yours, Maine delegates. Choose wisely. We're going to find out. If you live in Maine, if you want to testify at one of the hearings, reach out to our awesome Maine regional coordinator. You can just email her at maine@studentsforlife.org, and you can get involved right there in your state capital. What's the capital of Maine? I think it's Augusta. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see. I could Google it, but you all will correct me in the show notes, I'm sure. All right. Last but not least, Florida, state number 10. The free state of Florida is not quite yet the abortion-free state of Florida, and the Pro-Life Gen wants to change that. Last session, so last year, we worked with Representative Mike Beltran to introduce our Life at Conception Act because, as you know, we were there. We were right behind Governor DeSantis when he signed into law the Heartbeat Abortion Protection Act, which the Florida Supreme Court has upheld. So now babies who have heartbeats that can be heard via ultrasound can't be killed in Florida. But there's still a lot of babies being killed, especially since Florida is an international abortion destination. Women come from Central and South America into Miami and have abortions a lot. Here's our problem in Tallahassee right now. Mike Beltran retired, and we are without a bill champion in Tallahassee. I know, it's shocking, right? Republicans control a supermajority. We can't find a Republican to sponsor a bill to end all abortions. True story. Luckily, there are 2 special elections coming from Florida at the end of this month, March. And our Florida Students for Life Action PAC is going to be door knocking in support of Bob White, a pro-life champion who would be a great bill sponsor if he gets elected and sent to Tallahassee this session. But first, he's got to win this special election for House District 32, which is in Melbourne, Florida area. If you live nearby, I need you to email us because we need help knocking doors. You can email us at florida@studentsforlife.org and we'll get you involved ASAP. Hey Pro-Life Gen, this is your show host, Kristan Hawkins, and I have an incredible opportunity for you to make a real impact for life this summer. On Saturday, June 28th, we're gathering on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. for the National Celebrate Life Weekend Rally, and you do not want to miss this event. We are going to host the nation's largest diaper drive, sponsored by the nation's only pro-life diaper brand, Every Life. Here's the goal. We want to bring together 392,715 diapers and scatter them on the lawn of the U.S. Capitol. 1 diaper for every baby that's been lost to abortion at Planned Parenthood in the last year. It's going to be extremely powerful. But instead of letting those diapers, just go to waste or letting these precious lives be forgotten, we want to turn that number into hope for moms and families in need in the Washington, D.C. area. So we're going to be giving them away after the massive rally and display. We are in a critical moment right now in the pro-life movement. Defunding Planned Parenthood is finally possible with the new Trump administration. But we're going to have to push harder than ever before to show why Planned Parenthood doesn't deserve a dime of their taxpayer dollars. And I believe this massive display on Capitol Hill will send a clear message to Republican leadership on Capitol Hill that Planned Parenthood must finally go fund themselves. The National Celebrate Life Weekend Rally is a completely free event. All you have to do is go to CelebrateLifeWeekend.org and sign up for the free rally. You can come stand with us, bring some diapers, and be a part of a historic moment and provide real help to struggling families in need. And if you can't make it to Washington, D.C., you can still join us and make a difference because you can go to CelebrateLifeWeekend.com and donate to our diaper fund. Every dollar you donate will go to purchase at-cost diapers from Every Life that we will use at this display to tell Planned Parenthood they never should deserve any of our taxpayer dollars. Then those diapers will be given away to families in need. It's going to be amazing. This is our chance to show the nation, to show all of America that the pro-life movement is about action. We're demanding action from our leaders on Capitol Hill to finally defund Planned Parenthood of our taxpayer dollars, and we're showing action that we love and care for her more than the greedy abortion industry. So sign up now at CelebrateLifeWeekend.org. Friends, I want to thank you so much for joining this special episode. I mean, every episode is special, but this was a really special episode of the Kristan Hawkins Show because I got to show you a little bit of the sausage that goes on every state legislative season. But thank you for listening and hearing all of this. Make sure you subscribe and follow for more discussions on my podcast like this. Make sure you also follow Students for Life Action to keep up with all the state updates because I'm telling you, we started out the session lobbying in 27 states. We saw legislation introduced as many as, I think, 15 states, and now we've narrowed it down to these about 10 states we're engaged in, and it's going to be narrowing down even further until we get states passing laws. So the landscape changes by the hour. So make sure you follow Students Life Action on X, on Facebook, and Instagram. To hear from me daily, Monday through Friday, about pro-life action item or news item that I think you need to know, you can text my name, Kristan, to 53445. Until next week, keep speaking out for the voiceless and stand for life.